Hello everyone and welcome to the new video on our latest series, Linux for Everyone. In the first episode, we scratched the surface of Linux system and just getting a bit more information and trying a few simple techniques, simple commands that we could use in Linux. And we did learn a lot, but as I said, it was just scratching the surface. In the second video right now that we are going through, we will go a bit more deeper. We'll just dive into Linux systems, Linux commands more and more. And without wasting any time, we can just jump right into it. And as we are in this series, in the first episode, we used the free Linux lab from Hack the Box, and we will do the same in here as well. And if you haven't already signed up, you can just go through the link that is in the description, and you can go through the walkthrough of exactly how you can sign up from the first video. You can first check it out if you're new. And before we get started, there's another question. Have you actually hacked the YouTube algorithm already today? If not, then just like this video, subscribe, comment, and you can just keep the bell notification on. So we can hack YouTube ethically. And anyways, let's just get started. So alright, as you can see, before we go do anything else, we have to jump into the Linux lab that is from Hack the Box, as I mentioned. And once you have logged in, you can jump into your Linux fundamental course and launch the box. As you can see here, just click on the start instance and it will take a few seconds for it to jump up, to boot up, and then you can dive right into it after you have clicked on the start instance. Usually, as I also explained in the first episode, it takes few seconds. Sometimes it can take maybe a minute, maybe 2 minutes. So you can just be patient. And as you can see that it's been launched, you can click on the interact button, and here you can see that it's opened up. And again, if you have no idea what I'm talking about here, like what you see right now, how it happened, you can just go back to the episode 1, and I've shown there how you can set up everything. So let's keep going. And then what we know, after clicking on the interact button, in the first episode we covered that you don't experience Linux like this. So even though yes, it is good for aesthetics, it's good for looking at it, the GUI is quite interesting, but again, that's not how we use it. We are going to launch our Linux terminal, which you can see right here, and this is like usually the green button that you see. Once you click on it, you see that your terminal is open, and as we then are like in the terminal mode, now really click who am I. So this is a comment, or this is a command that you can use. Let's go ahead and type who am I, and once you type, you will see something that appears. And this command will be our first command, like just a fun command that tells you who you are, who we are logged in as. And as I'm currently, like you can see the user 937377, like that's what basically tells you that which user you are. It's more like just in general knowing the system itself. So now moving on. So the last time, like in the first episode of this series, we learned a few things like ls, for an example, which you can see. And apart from ls, we also learned like cd command. And as you remember, like we can change directories to something else where we are not, just like for an example, cd desktop, and you will be like then moved into the desktop directory. And if you type pwd, this pwd command tells you where you are, for an example, which directory you are. So right now I'm in desktop because we just went there, and we even saw that if we type cd, for an example, dot space, and we go back to the, for an example, just keep going back till you actually can't go back anymore. So here, if you see, it tells you the same, like there's the same slash is like the root, so you can't go back anymore. That's where you are, like to the root. And now, like if I type pwd, you can see where you are, like the root of the file system. That's where all starts, and that's where we are starting our video today. So I will like quickly clean up the screen here, which you can see, and you can do the same, like you just have to type clear, and then you see like the all the commands that you typed before, it's gone, and then you have like a blank screen to start fresh. So like it just clears up your your command terminal. It's like nice and clean. And yeah, now what's here, what's at the root of the file system? Like let's see, go ahead and now you can type ls, for an example. And yeah, once you type ls, there's like a lot of things that you see. So the next thing what we do is like let's find out what exactly these things are. Like before before we do that, I just want like one big idea across to you real quick. This will help you understand things as we go forward. Like everything, and I mean like everything in Linux, it's a file. Like it can be configurations, your network settings, things like your IP address, like everything, every interface stuff, all of this is a file. Like it's devices like your hard drives, your printers, CD-ROMs, even everything that you see, like all these files, they are represented, like these things are represented as a file in Linux. Now, even more shocking and crazy, like the commands we use. So for example, now what we use, the ls command, and all other commands we just learned, they're all files. And yeah, if you don't believe me, I will like show you. So let's jump right into this. I will show you like exactly where they exist, where they live, for an example. So they are like, if you can read here, like there's the bin folder. This like, yeah, that's basically where everything exists. So what we'll do is like we'll type cd bin, and then now you're like in the bin folder. You can also type pwd to see like, yes, exactly where you are, and you're in bin. And yeah, so basically what bin stands for is it stands for binary. And you know, like computer speaks inside the bin folder or directory are like the command binaries. So now as we are inside it, let's look inside the bin folder. Now we will type ls, and you will see like there's all the contents that you see here. There are so many of them. All these contents, these are all basically the commands. Like there's a lots and lots of commands that you'll end up using in Linux. In fact, like within the bin folder, there are like essential command binaries. So let's scroll up and let's find, for an example, ls. It's quite high, and you have to go up. And yeah, just for you to know, it's quite evident as well, like these are also sorted by the letters. And here, which you can see, like there's the ls command. And yeah, so this is basically also a file. The command you will use to list files itself is a file. It's very strange, but yeah, now if this is like a file, we probably should also be able to open it up and see what's inside. That's basically how files and folders work. And yes, we can do that. And let's basically do it. And in the new command line, so what we'll do is like we'll show you like exactly which command to use. You can also clear this up, or you might also use like the control L for an example, and this does the same thing. So nice and clear. This new command that we will basically use to open files is cat, so cat, that's it. And cat stands for concatenated. And yeah, so as you can see, like once you type cat for an example, cat, this command will take a file and it will just basically throw it up on your terminal. So in the output, what we'll do is like we will try it, and we will try cat ls, and here like what you will see is now a bit strange. So do you understand any of this? Because like if actually you do, then you're a robot. Yeah, but yeah, anyways, like you should not actually understand it. It's like the command binary. When you type in ls, this is what it tells the computer to do. So now what we can do is like we can further illustrate that this is indeed a file. So I'm going to do something with it, or like to it for an example. What we will do is like we will try to delete the file, this ls, because you are also supposed to, or you are also able to delete files. So let's try deleting it, but before we delete it, we can also like first back up this file. So it's like now there's again a new command time and learning the new command, and let's clear it out again. I'm going back up to my ls command, and or basically trying to copy it. So the new command that you'll learn is cp. Again, cp stands for copy. It's pretty much what it means. There's like no further explanation that's needed. So after cp, we will reference the file that we want to copy. So we want to copy ls, and then we also need to name the file that we want to copy to. So I will name it, we can maybe just name it cyber for an example, and like you can name it whatever you want. And what you will notice here is like the moment you press enter, says cannot create regular file, cyber, permission denied. And so now how do we fix this? Well, normally in Linux sometimes you have to say please, and I mean not really, but like kind of. And to give yourselves permission real quick for this one command, we will type the sudo command. So before basically typing the whole copy, the cp ls cyber command. And now we will end up covering what sudo means. So sudo or sudo, but yeah, for right now, just know we aren't allowed to use that. We're not allowed to use the copy command in the directory. We don't have the permissions. But by using the sudo command, we can pretend to be the root or the admin user for just like one command, and we can run it. So let's try it out. We can just, after typing sudo, type cp ls cyber. So now what you can see is like it worked. There's no permission issues. So here's what we did. We have the ls command still there, like it still exists, but so for an example, when you see it still exists, but we also now have a new command, and it's like just cyber. So it's because we copied the binary contents of ls to the new file named cyber. And if we try to use this command, what do you think will happen? So like, let's try it out. We type cyber and it basically does the same thing. And see it here again, and it, yeah, so it's like the ls command. That's pretty interesting, right? So yeah, anyways, let's just delete the ls command, and we can do that. Again, let me clear up the screen. Again, the clearing of the screen, there are, like, as I mentioned, two ways that you can do it. You can either type clear, or the other way is using Control plus L command on your keyboard. So yeah, let's delete the ls command. The command is rm. So like, very simple, two words, as you can see, rm, two letters, and rm stands for remove. And as much as the copy command is basically self-explanatory, it removes things. So I'll say like remove ls, and now you may, again, like when you type here, it sometimes says remove protected regular file ls. You can say yes, and then after you do this, you see that it's again permission denied, and it's the same thing. So what we'll do is, like, we again need the sudo command to do this. And yeah, once you type this, as you can see that it's gone, like the ls command doesn't exist anymore. Now, just out of curiosity, what do you think will happen if you will type, for an example, ls? Yeah, just quickly, if you think, when we now type ls, here it says no such file or directory because it's gone. Like, but yeah, it's no big deal because we still have the cyber command, so we can basically do the same thing. So yeah, we are good for now. But again, like, just to return back to normal, all we got to do is, like, again, use the cp command, the copy command, with the sudo command as well. So we are going to copy the contents of cyber back into the file name ls. So now, again, typing sudo, and now it will be different. It's not anymore ls cyber, but it's cyber, because from cyber we want to copy it back to ls. And what you will see here is, just quickly, as I missed what I had to do, sudo cp cyber and then ls, and you'll see that it worked. And now, for an example, if you type ls again, it will do exactly what it is supposed to do, that is list out all the things that exist in our folder bin. So yeah, now talking about bin again, we have got, like, all the essential command binaries. We talked about things like the commands that we learned: cp, that is copy, rm, remove. We also learned the cat, the concatenate command as well, which also means we can cat. So yeah, let's try it out. And like, cat, and you see, like, basically telling you what exactly exists in it. So now what we're going to do is, like, again, go back to our root, and just to make it a bit more cleaner, like, just clean it up again. And as I mentioned, we go back to the root by typing cd ... and you can see that there's, like, the slash, which tells you that now you're, like, in the root. And yeah, now, as we talked about the bin directory, like, it's quite an interesting directory, has a lot of information, a lot of things that we need. But there's also something more, and which is a bit more special, and that's called Espin. What we can see again, if you put or type ls, here you see that there's something called Espin. And so yeah, it's a bit more special. And in Espin, what you'll see that it has special commands that only administrators would use, like to administer the system. So let me just show you. What we can do is we can go to the Espin directory, and let's just type ls, and what you will see is like you will see all the contents, like the list of the whole contents, and we have some really interesting commands, some like top secret commands that only admins can use. And we will take a look at one and like also use it really quick, and that's like add user. So just going at the top, and hopefully I can find it. So here, yeah, as you can see, the add user command, or like the file as it's called in Linux. And yeah, so what do you think that this does? Like, it's also somehow self-explanatory. It's going to add us like a user. So let's do that real quick, and we're gonna again clear up the screen. And yeah, so what for this command you will need is like you'll need sudo, because it's like a special command. So it's basically saying please add user, and like then the username. So again, now it's like the new command time, and for this I'm going to like create, let's say, I don't know, we can find a name, sudo add user, and let's say again cyber for an example. And yeah, and it's basically what once you do is like tells you that it's adding, just then you have to add a password to it. You have to then again retype the password, and you can just say like just give it a full name. The other things we don't need. And then it says like if the information is correct, there's a pop-up. You type yes, and then that you'll see that the new user is basically created. And yeah, so basically now like cyber, this user is now alive, and we have added a user. But yeah, so that what we see is like the Espin commands. Let's go back to our root, and yeah, now again we can just type ls again to see what exists in the root. And now we're going to talk about commands for a bit. We're not quite done yet. Ben, or like this bin command, bin file, bin directory, how you call it, has some essential commands. The sbin has our like super essential commands, but now we are going to jump into our user directory. So like we will do it there, and that is here, which you can see usr. What we'll do is like we go to cd, type usr, and then you can list, and here you will see also here you see that there are like again bin and sbin both existing. And this maybe, or like for you maybe it's a bit strange, it might confuse you that in the usr directory or the user directory we also again have bin and sbin. So what's basically going on, we can again look at it. So we are going to cd bin, and again, if you type ls, like here you see all the commands that we also have seen in the previous one. And yeah, like it's basically, it looks quite similar, right? And it's like, again, confusing why is there like the same commands. And we then type cd dot dot, and we will like now jump into, after typing ls, you can see the Espin, and we will go into cd Espin. And when you type ls, you see like again it's the same commands that we seen in the previous one, in the previous Espin from the root. And but yeah, there's like basically a lot of overlap. So that kind of brings the question, when we use ls command, are we using the command stored in bin or Espin? So why I bring this question is, like, for an example, when you see it here in the Espin place, what might confuse you is like, why is there all these things existing twice, for an example? So what we will do is like, we will try to find it out. And again, this is like new command time for you. We are going to type in the command which will basically help us figure out which which exact place is like our commands being used. So what we'll do is, like, in this, we have to figure out how it works. So now the command for this is like the which command. So what you will notice is that when you type which, and if you type, for an example, ls, it will tell you basically from which directory this particular command is being used from. Like, it's the reason why this exists. So like it's basically, they both exist. Again, Espin, bin, all of them both exist, but the reason is, it all comes down to the hard drive space. But yeah, essentially the bin and Espin directories are the user directories, and the same time bin and Espin are like the root directories. And because of this overlap, that's how you figure out which is used where. And this command tells you exactly from where it exists. And we can also, what we can do is like try different ones, try a different command for an example, and it tells you again where exactly this belongs. So for an example, when you type here which and then type cat, it also tells you like it's from basically user/bin, which if you didn't and basically catch on what which is doing, I feel like I'm saying which too much, you can use which to find out where your command binaries live. That's in short what it does. So I can actually which that command I made earlier, the which which cyber, for an example, and you can also see that where it exists. So again, now let's go back to our user directory, which has like the bin Espin copies, but a bit more power. So we also have like the local directory, which you can hardly see. Let me back up there. So to our like local directory, which similar to bin Espin, will store command binaries, but here you will want to store like the command binaries that you might create. So again, let's move on. The user directory also has some fun stuff like libraries that the command binaries will share. And apparently, when you type ls, it says all the things that it has. This lib, which you see like that's libraries, local, that's what I was talking about before, local, other things, there's games as well. So yeah, now we actually are not going to use the user directory anymore. So let's get out of it. And yeah, let's again type ls to basically see all the things that exist in the root. And yeah, what you can see that there's like many things. And what we will do is like we will see what other things or what other files exist for an example. So like you see the boot files are like system, they need boot files, that's why boot exists. Like again, self-explanatory. The var, we will have things like log files and also like web application related files there. We will talk more about them later. Temp, for an example, temp or like temporary files. These are also like files that go away after the system reboots or something like this. Another lib directory, more shared library files, especially things your system needs to boot. So okay, like speed round done. Some more stuff, some more key directories here in the root. First is like home. Home is where you live. Home is, in fact, it's where every user lives in your system. So let's take a look inside home for an example. You can type cd home, and then we can type ls, and here you can see that we have like the cyber, like the user that we created, and basically this is like our home. And then there's also cyber, which has its own home. So if we, for an example, do the cyber and type ls, you will again see what exactly it includes. So it has desktops and templates. So like that's basically what exists in cyber. And again, now let's go back to our root. So what you notice right now, instead of me typing cd dot dot till we reach to the basically the root, you can also just type cd space the slash, and then you will be back to the root itself as well. And yeah, so just like a quick tip, just in case you didn't know. And now, like every Linux system has a root user, but we didn't see this basically in the home directory that we saw. So this might bring you a question like, where does it exist? Because like it doesn't exist in home, but you may have noticed that here, like in the root, when you type ls, there's like a special directory called root itself, and basically it has its own space. And what we can do is we can now jump into root and then list all the things that exist in the root. There's like many things. And now, like also earlier I mentioned that even devices in our systems are files, like for an example, hard drives, printers, CD-ROMs. And probably you also want to see it, and they are like in the dev directory. So like when you type cd dot dot, when you go to the root, and here when you see that there's like the directory which says dev, and dev basically stands for device. So let's take a look at it, and typing cd dev and then typing ls, and you will see like all the things that exist. There's a lot of things. Now you can basically spend all day here, but we are not going to do it. We are going to look at one thing, that is like vd, so here vda and vda1. Those things are basically the hard drives. They stand for virtual disks on other Linux systems. You might see this listed as SDA or SDA1 as well. So if you go a bit higher for an example, you will also might notice that it exists. And yeah, just in case if you're using your own system, you will see it. And that's one is like the hard drive. That's the disk. It's a file, which means you can also again use the cat function for this. So let's do that now. It will be a bit strange because it will keep printing a lot of things. So I will also like show you how to stop it. But yeah, we are going to do it. What we're going to do is like we will type cat vda, and again, for you to know, like when you type this, it will say permission denied, because again you have to use the sudo permission to get this thing done. So let's type sudo cat and then vda, and this will like start putting or start showing you things. Just make sure to click Control C to basically stop the whole process, to stop listing, for it to list everything that exists. Like, as again, it's like all binary, like all the things that exist in the hard drive, but as I said, it's binary, it's hard for you to know. Again, clearing up the screen. It is very interesting. Like the dev directory, it's where, like as I said, the devices live. Now I also mentioned that the settings of your Linux server or your Linux computer are files. So like things like your network settings are stored inside a file. So that's what we will see in the next one. Let's go and check it out. So again, going back to your root, and when you type ls, what you will notice in here, it's like the etc file. So just below dev, there's the etc file, which stands for etc officially. So you might hear it to, or like hear it as referred to as etc file or directory, but people might also, like in the Linux world, called something different. So yeah, let's just now jump into etc, typing cd etc and then listing out all the things that exist. Now, like you will go here a lot of things, because a lot of times, because configuration files of your system are here, as well as some applications. They can throw some stuff in there too as well. So yeah, that's what you see. There's a lot of things, but we will just focus right now on one set of configuration. Let's focus on networking for an example. So we have got, you notice, like if you try to find, select the network file. So here, when you see it, network directory, network folder, however you want to call it, what we'll do is, again, now we will jump into the network directory, typing the cd, and then typing the ls command will list you all the things that exist. So yeah, but the thing I want you to see is the interfaces file, and let's take a look at it. So again, doing the cat interfaces, again it will tell you like permission denied, because then you need the sudo command, and then it will basically tell you like like the file of your network interfaces and their assigned IP addresses. This is where like they are basically configured, and which is like pretty interesting. And if you wanted to change your network settings, you would often go into the file and just change it there. Now things do work differently in some Linux systems nowadays, but this was like one of the common way to do it, and still is kind of the common way to do it in some systems. Now again, we are almost done with today's whole things that we will look at. And I know it's been a lot, but I definitely have to cover this. I have to show you this. So again, going back to our root, cd space slash. So the two more things that I want to talk about is like again like the ls root. In once you do the ls is like the mnt directory and the media directory. So like what you see here, like they are basically do the same thing. They mount drives. So if you plug in, for an example, a USB flash drive into your Linux box here, it will automatically and like be mounted to the media directory as a file, because everything's a file, remember. So media is mainly for your system mounting things automatically for you, whereas the mnt directory, it also has drives mounted to it, but its drives you might mount manually. So you would actually use commands to mount a drive, and again this would be represented as a file in the mnt directory as well. Now I think I've covered like most of it, like almost all of it. So if you're still curious about any of the remaining ones, like let's anything like what you want to do, like you can always go and use the commands that you tried on yourself. And yeah, that they basically in general, like for an example, if you go to the bin and kind of have the ls command and see like what exists, you can definitely try. But as I said, well, what's really important for you to know is that like everything basically in Linux is a file. So we saw this part, we saw that everything is a file, and we jumped around the different directories and looked at everything from devices to commands to configuration files, and we covered what the main directory actually are for. And yeah, that's key in learning Linux, because when you're doing stuff in Linux, so like when you're messing up with the applications configuration, like configuring certain things, also like doing the ethical hacking, it's important to know where stuff is and where stuff should go. And like then while we are jumping around and exploring our Linux file systems, which officially is called like the FHS, how it's arranged, the file system hierarchy. While doing that, we basically learned a bunch of new commands, the things like who am I. We then had cp or copy, we had rm or remove, we had the add user, we had which command, we had cat. So we did a lot today basically. And yeah, it can be quite a lot of things, but it's really important that you kind of learn and kind of practice things on your own to get more information how it works. And yeah, like just play around it. The more you play around, the more you try to do things, it will help you understand exactly how all the commands work. So this was actually about it. This was our course, or like our episode for this topic on the file hierarchy system, or like the Linux file system. And again, of course, don't forget to ethically hack the YouTube algorithm today. Hit the like button, subscribe, press the notification button, comment on the things that you found it interesting, that you were curious about. And yeah, it also helps me, helps my videos to reach more people, and yeah, that more people can understand. So yeah, as I said, this was episode 2 of the Linux for Everyone course, and again I will and get back to you on this topic of Linux for everyone in the next episode. See you soon.